I learned about John Smith's flirtatious assistant from someone else by chance. That day, I went for a prenatal checkup and unexpectedly ran into Ms. Johnson from John Smith's company. She showed me a photo.
Your husband is being eyed by someone. Look, I secretly took this during the last team building event.
In the photo, a girl was holding out a half-eaten skewer towards John Smith. John Smith, with a pouty face, was happily waiting to be fed by the girl. In public, he seemed completely unaware of any impropriety. I saved the photo on my phone. According to Ms. Johnson, this girl was John Smith's new assistant. She had started a month ago, and it seemed they knew each other from before. I felt it was necessary to have a word with John Smith in person. After my checkup, it was already 11 o'clock when I left the hospital. I walked slowly towards John Smith's company, thinking about the photo, completely oblivious to the red light across the street. Then, I was knocked down by a delivery boy.
I'm so sorry. Are you okay?
I wasn't really hurt, but the young man seemed a bit nervous. He quickly walked over to me, apologizing repeatedly.
It's okay. Go quickly.
He noticed the maternity handbook peeking out of my bag and looked concerned.
If you feel unwell, please call me. I'll take full responsibility.
I waved him off impatiently once more.
Anna Williams received a photo from Ms. Johnson, showing her husband, John Smith, being fed by his new assistant, Emily White, during a team-building event. Concerned, she decided to confront John in person.
Thanks for the photo, Ms. Johnson. I'll handle it from here.
After her checkup, Anna headed to John's company, lost in thought about the photo, and was accidentally knocked down by a delivery boy.
I'm so sorry. Are you okay?
It's fine. Go quickly.
The delivery boy handed her his business card, offering to take responsibility if she felt unwell. Your husband is being eyed by someone. Look, I secretly took this during the last team-building event.
In the photo, a girl was holding out a half-eaten skewer towards John. John, with a pouty face, was happily waiting to be fed by the girl. In public, he seemed completely unaware of any impropriety.
I saved the photo on my phone. According to Ms. Johnson, this girl was John's new assistant. She had started a month ago, and it seemed they knew each other from before. I felt it was necessary to have a word with John in person. After my checkup, it was already 11 o'clock when I left the hospital. I walked slowly towards John's company, thinking about the photo, completely oblivious to the red light across the street. Then, I was knocked down by a delivery boy.
Are you okay? I'm so sorry, I didn't see you.
I wasn't really hurt, but the young man seemed a bit nervous. He quickly walked over to me, apologizing repeatedly. I waved my hand, indicating it was okay, and told him to go quickly. He noticed the maternity handbook peeking out of my bag and looked concerned.
Please, take this business card. If you feel unwell, call me, and I'll take full responsibility.
I waved him off impatiently once more. I called my brother and asked him to arrange a family gathering, planning to get John Smith drunk at the dinner table. He got so drunk that he was like a puddle of mud, and I successfully got hold of his mysterious phone. If there's anything more terrifying in a marriage, it's checking your partner's phone. Only through the phone can you discover whether the person you've been living with is human or something else. Unfortunately for me, I encountered the latter. John Smith had saved Emily White's contact as dream lover. Their chat history was exceptionally long, almost 24/7. Even in the middle of the night, when Emily White returned from the bathroom, she would inform John Smith on WeChat.
Friendly reminder, never eat watermelon at night. It's too painful to get up. This is the 4th time. I envy you sleeping soundly now.
And John Smith would always reply to her first thing when he opened his eyes, with a laughing emoji or a silly girl. This kind of enthusiasm and warmth was something I only enjoyed during our honeymoon phase. What I couldn't tolerate the most was a post in John Smith's private moments, visible only to himself, which read,
"The flutter of youth is back. I really want to be with her." Followed by a string of crazy emojis.
He indeed had ulterior motives. Besides their chat history, I also discovered his transactions with his former assistant. To make room for Emily White, he privately transferred 18,000 yuan to the assistant. This was compensation for the assistant's voluntary resignation, and he also arranged a job for her at another company. At the time, he explained this amount to me as a kickback to secure business. Damn it! No wonder the assistant was so cooperative. With extra money and a seamless transition to a new company, anyone would agree happily. It seems John Smith went to great lengths to keep Emily White by his side. I felt I needed to start planning our future ahead of time. The photo showed a girl feeding John Smith a half-eaten skewer, with him looking delighted. I saved the photo on my phone and decided I needed to talk to him. After my checkup, I left the hospital around 11 o'clock and headed towards John Smith's company, lost in thought. Suddenly, a delivery boy knocked me down.
I'm so sorry. Are you okay?
It's fine. Really, don't worry about it.
I noticed your maternity handbook. If you feel unwell, please call me. Here's my card.
Thank you, but I'm okay.
Your husband is being eyed by someone. Look, I secretly took this during the last team-building event.
Serious, in the photo, a girl was holding out a half-eaten skewer towards John Smith. John Smith, with a pouty face, was happily waiting to be fed by the girl. In public, he seemed completely unaware of any impropriety.
I saved the photo on my phone. According to Ms. Johnson, this girl was John Smith's new assistant. She had started a month ago, and it seemed they knew each other from before. I felt it was necessary to have a word with John Smith in person. After my checkup, it was already 11 o'clock when I left the hospital. I walked slowly towards John Smith's company, thinking about the photo, completely oblivious to the red light across the street. Then, I was knocked down by a delivery boy.
Oh my gosh, are you okay? I'm so sorry.
Relieved, it's all right, really. Just go quickly.
He noticed the maternity handbook peeking out of my bag and looked concerned. He handed me a business card.
If you feel unwell, please call me. I'll take full responsibility.
I waved him off impatiently once more. 7 days flew by, and it was time for me to be discharged and go home. I sent John Smith a message about going home, and it took him a long time to reply with just one word, "Oh."
He was becoming increasingly dismissive. I had been away for exactly 7 days.
Sad, during these 7 days, John Smith only sent me a token message in the morning and evening, without fail. Honey, are you up? Honey, are you asleep?
Times he would add, "Honey, when are you coming back?" But he was much more attentive to Emily White, having meals and watching movies together.
I wasn't sure if they were physically intimate, but their emotional connection was undoubtedly growing. During these 7 days, Emily White came to our house twice, once at noon and once in the evening. She used my body fat scale twice and entered my bedroom twice. I had secretly installed surveillance cameras at home before I left. In the footage, when Emily White pretended to fall and ended up on the bed with John Smith, he said, "Not here, we'll get caught." That same evening, John Smith made a payment via WeChat for a hotel room next to our house.
Angry, despite being pregnant, she was still so eager to engage in such activities. I told Sarah Brown that I was going back to catch them in the act. She was worried and brought her husband, David Brown, along with me. With the two of them there, I felt confident this time.
However, to my surprise, when I stormed back home, I found myself being accused instead. John Smith, with a grim expression, threw a stack of photos at me, asking who the father of the child was and when I had betrayed him.
Angry, who's the father of this child, Anna? When did you betray me?
Bewildered, what are you talking about?
I bent down to examine the photos closely. They were pictures of me in bed with a stranger.
Coldly, where did you get these photos?
Smug, you don't need to know where I got them. If you don't want people to find out, don't do it. You thought you could secretly terminate the pregnancy and I wouldn't have any evidence, didn't you? You were wrong.
He then threw another photo at me, showing me in a hospital gown, half sitting on a hospital bed, eating. Judging by the angle, it seemed to be taken from the doorway. It turned out he knew all about my hospital visit.
Serious, Anna Williams, we agreed before marriage that whoever cheats leaves with nothing. I don't want to blame you. Whenever you're ready, let's get the paperwork done. I don't want to stay with someone as shameless as you for another second.
John Smith's decisive and ruthless demeanor was something I had never seen before. After spending some time with Emily White, John Smith had indeed changed. John Smith, after showing off, threw a divorce agreement at me.
Stop! You haven't heard my explanation yet.
What else is there to explain?
Just listen.
I took out my phone and played a few recordings for John Smith.
John, what are you afraid of? Do you have something on her? I'm not afraid of her. We signed an agreement that whoever cheats leaves with nothing, so I've been very careful. Ah, that woman is so cunning, always scheming for your assets. We must find a way. What? Anna Williams went to the hospital for a procedure. Absolutely, my friend said it was at the Central Hospital on Huiyang Road. Look, he took these photos. That's surprising, but it saves us the trouble. The child is gone, now we just have to fight for the assets. Not difficult. She secretly terminated the pregnancy, which is a golden opportunity for us. What do you mean? Think about it, why did she secretly terminate the pregnancy? Because the child wasn't yours, get it? Then you just insist the child wasn't yours, that she had an affair. She'll leave with nothing, and there's no proof since the child is gone. We'll get some photos and videos made, fake but convincing. She won't be able to defend herself.
Your husband is being eyed by someone. Look, I secretly took this during the last team building event.
Look at this photo. That girl is feeding John Smith a half-eaten skewer. See how he's happily waiting to be fed?
I saved the photo on my phone. That girl was John Smith's new assistant. I knew I needed to talk to him in person. After my checkup, I headed towards John Smith's company, lost in thought about the photo. Suddenly, I was knocked down by a delivery boy.
Oh no, are you okay? I'm so sorry.
I waved my hand to indicate it was fine and told him to go quickly. He noticed the maternity handbook peeking out of my bag and looked concerned.
Here, take my business card. If you feel unwell, call me. I'll take responsibility.
I waved him off impatiently once more. I found Michael Green and proposed that I would fund his comeback if he helped me bring down John Smith's company. Michael Green used to be in freight forwarding, while John Smith's company was in shipping agency. Traditionally, shipping and freight are closely linked. I believed that with Michael Green's abilities, he could handle it, especially since he had a lot of connections. Michael Green and I signed an agreement where I would provide the funds and he would use his connections. I would hold 61% of the shares, and he would hold 39%, with other terms to be discussed later. After signing the agreement, I listed my 2 commercial properties with a real estate agent. I also transferred all the funds in my account to Michael Green's account, giving him full authority to prepare the company. At the same time, I obtained all the information about his former competitor from Michael Green. This included the real father of the child in Emily White's womb. Thomas Harris, in his 30s, with slicked back hair and a sinister look in his eyes, had a ruthless demeanor. His wife, Laura Anderson, was a well-maintained middle-aged woman in her 40s who enjoyed fitness and yoga. With such a significant age difference, I didn't believe for a second that this man was purely in it for love. I sent Laura Anderson's information to Sarah Brown. Half an hour later, Sarah called me.
I used my connections to get us both into Laura Anderson's yoga class.
The yoga class had 2 evening sessions a week, and within a week, Sarah and I had successfully become close friends with Laura Anderson. Everything went according to our plan from there. I posted a status on social media, portraying myself as a victim of a failed marriage, condemning my husband for not only cheating but also being brainwashed by his mistress. I mentioned that even though he knew the mistress was carrying another man's child, he still wouldn't break up with her. I set the post to be visible only to Sarah and Laura Anderson. 10 minutes after posting, the 3 of us vented in the comments section.
We should book a private room for tea to help you vent your emotions.
I agree.
So, Sarah and I rehearsed our lines and confidently went to the meeting. When the 3 of us met, I continued to play the victim while Sarah analyzed the situation. I told them I had followed my husband's mistress and confirmed she had been to the maternity hospital. Her name was on the electronic screen in the lobby, and I had paid a pregnant woman $500 to sit next to her and take a photo of her prenatal checkup slip. The slip showed she was 10 weeks pregnant, almost 3 months, but she had only known my husband for less than 2 months. I sent the photos of Emily White at the hospital, her name on the electronic screen, and the prenatal checkup slip to our small group chat. These pieces of information were real. Emily White had been very cautious. I had someone follow her for half a month to find out which hospital she went to for her checkups. Amid Sarah and Laura Anderson's angry tirades, I sent a few photos that had been expertly edited to show Emily White with Laura Anderson's husband. They were taken at the entrance of a hotel, in the hospital lobby, hugging and kissing, all clearly showing their faces. Compared to the photos John Smith had used to frame me earlier, mine were much more convincing. Only a professional photo editor could tell they were fake. These were taken by someone I hired. Look, the man in the photos is the real father of the child. He seems to be a big boss, and John Smith, that scoundrel, would rather turn a blind eye. As soon as the photos were sent, Laura Anderson, who had been casually scrolling through her phone, suddenly widened her eyes. She trembled as she asked,
What's the name of this woman?
Emily White.
Emily White, she murmured, as if recalling something, and then grabbed her bag and left.
Sarah and I exchanged a smile. The show was about to begin. The next day, I received a court summons. John Smith had sued me for a quick divorce.
Emily White is expecting, and we just found out yesterday. I need to marry her quickly so she can wear a beautiful wedding dress before it's too late.
Holding the summons, I couldn't help but laugh at his foolishness. I told John Smith there was no need to sue, I would sign the papers right away. We would split the shared property, but I only wanted cash. John Smith and I had a financial arrangement after marriage, so besides the house, which was now worth over $4 million, we had no other shared assets. Splitting the house meant he had to give me $2 million in cash. This was a crucial part of my plan. $2 million was no small amount. Moreover, the second-hand housing market was sluggish, making it nearly impossible to liquidate the house quickly. But John Smith was desperate to get out of this marriage, leaving him with only one option: to misappropriate company funds. This was exactly the outcome I wanted. Without such a significant amount of money, I wanted to see how he would compete with Michael Green's company. But John Smith couldn't care less. He was already filled with excitement.
Darling, I can marry you soon. I want you to be my most beautiful bride.
Watching his arrogant back, I sent a message to Michael Green, telling him to speed up the process. Michael Green's company had already completed its recruitment. He was using the popularity he had accumulated over the years to poach John Smith's clients. Because I provided ample funds, Michael Green was aggressively lowering the company's profit margins to capture the market, offering unprecedented discounts. John Smith, whatever you took from me, I will make you pay back 1,000 times over. 3 days after the divorce, John Smith and Emily White got their marriage certificate. Half a month later, they held a fairly grand wedding. I watched the wedding videos posted by a few old friends on social media and silently liked each one. Like autumn locusts, let them flaunt for now. Laura Anderson invited me out again. She said she had hired a private detective and had thoroughly investigated her husband.
I've got a lot of evidence in my hands, but it's not the right time to confront him yet. Emily White is the mistress my husband has been supporting. He gave her money, and she helped him have a son. Once the assets are transferred, they plan to reunite as a family of 3.
I asked her what she planned to do.
I'm not like you, divorcing so easily and losing part of the family assets. I want to make those 2 scumbags suffer. I want to get rid of the baby in her belly first. Can you help me?
I said, no problem, but I have a condition. Help me find evidence that Emily White leaked the company's bid information. Your husband must have access to it.
No problem, deal.
I started following Emily White all day again. She had now become the boss's wife at John Smith's company, flaunting her power and enjoying herself. Ms. Johnson felt indignant on my behalf, but I told her to be patient.
Ms. Johnson, I need you to do something for me.
What is it?
I need you to place this tracker into Emily White's frequently used bag.
I found out which hospital Emily went to for her prenatal checkups, her primary doctor, and her checkup schedule. I also discovered something interesting. Every time she had a checkup, she nervously avoided having John Smith accompany her. After leaving the hospital, she would immediately go to the print shop across the street, take out her checkup report, and have the staff scan, edit, and print it. She would then transfer the modified electronic version to her phone.
Honey, the doctor said the baby is doing great. I'll send you the checkup report on WeChat. The doctor said the baby is likely to be tall and is growing faster than other babies of the same age.
Hiding under my hoodie, pretending to tie my shoelaces, I almost gagged. Trying to deceive everyone is not that simple. I checked my calendar, estimated Emily White's actual pregnancy period, and figured out that she would likely have an NT scan next week. A detailed ultrasound that takes quite some time, a perfect opportunity to act. When Emily White's location information appeared at the hospital again, I rushed over immediately. I covered myself up well and hid on the other side of the waiting area in the corridor, constantly observing her movements. As soon as she entered the ultrasound room, I took out the phone I had prepared and called John Smith. Using a voice changer, I told John Smith that his wife had a minor issue at the hospital and he should come quickly to the ultrasound room 6 on the 4th floor. This hospital's ultrasound rooms have small lockers for pregnant women to store their personal belongings, and they don't carry anything with them while having the ultrasound. So I wasn't worried at all that John Smith would call Emily White back. Even if he did, she wouldn't be able to answer. After hanging up, I nervously watched the time, afraid something might go wrong. Fortunately, about 10 minutes later, John Smith rushed over and headed straight for ultrasound room 6. I didn't know what happened inside, but within 5 minutes, they came out arguing. Emily White's clothes were even disheveled. Her tight, fair abdomen still glistened with the wetness of the coupling gel as she hurriedly pulled John Smith outside.
How many weeks? What did the doctor say? 12 weeks?
You misheard. The doctor meant wait until 12 weeks. It's only 8 weeks now.
Emily White, are you here? Your report is ready.
Their argument was interrupted by a crisp call. I saw a look of panic on Emily White's face. She didn't even have time to turn around before John Smith snatched the report. Black and white, the truth was clear. John Smith's forehead veins bulged, and he grabbed Emily White's neck.
What the hell is going on? You lied to me?
He let go, and Emily White fell to the ground, coughing and gasping. John Smith lifted his foot and kicked her stomach repeatedly.
I divorced for you, treated you like a treasure, and you deceived me, make me a joke. I'll end you.
The sound of John Smith's shoes, mixed with Emily White's cries, was the most satisfying sound I had heard in days. Someone in the crowd trying to intervene exclaimed,
"She's bleeding. Where are the security guards? You men, don't just stand there. Help pull them apart. Someone's going to get seriously hurt."
John Smith was taken to the police station for intentional harm, and Emily White was rushed to the emergency room. I waited outside the operating room, watching as she was wheeled out and into a ward.
You're still so young. You can have another child. Don't cry like this, or you'll hurt your eyes.
I held up my phone, took a photo through the door crack, and sent it to Laura Anderson, letting her know the job was done. Laura did not disappoint me. A few days after receiving my photo, she sent over the chat records and transfer records showing Emily White leaking the bottom price. I casually forwarded them to Michael Green. Whether to pursue it or not was no longer my concern. John Smith was taken into custody, and Ms. Johnson followed my hints, adding fuel to the fire at the company. Coupled with recent financial difficulties, the employees were in a state of panic.
Many people have started sending out resumes, looking for new jobs. The company's business has almost come to a halt.
With the opponent leaderless and morale low, it was much easier for Michael Green, who had been planning this for a long time. He had already taken over 90% of the clients that originally belonged to John Smith, with only a small portion bound by contracts that couldn't be changed. It seemed that John Smith's bankruptcy was imminent. Ill intentions ultimately lead to self-destruction.